I'm Shanada, and today I'll be exploring equal opportunities and discrimination. The business that I'll be looking at today is 7-Eleven. So, diversity in culture has shaped society in many different ways. This can be through interests, religions, philosophies, values, and simply just different races. But these haven't always been praised, and a lot of the times it has caused wars, fights, and just different forms of discrimination and segregation. A perfect example of this one is the segregation era from the 1900s within America. This was the discrimination of the African American people. This prevented them from having equal opportunities such as rights, pay, access to even things such as water, simply based on their colour. And through this, it has caused a lot of uproar and created a lot of discrimination against them and against people of colour. So in order to act against this, every state and every country has created an Anti-Discrimination Act, which states from the Queensland one that under Queensland's anti-discrimination laws, employers must offer equal employment opportunities. This means that people are treated based on their merit at every single stage of employment, from the recruitment process up into the daily duties that they'll perform. This also means that things such as resignations, retrenchments, or redundancies are taken quite seriously. This just kind of means that every business has an obligation to make sure that when they are hiring or when they are looking for employees, that they are doing it based on them as individuals and their work ethic, as opposed to things such as their race or their background or their religion. So a case study that we'll be looking at a lot further is 7-Eleven. So 7-Eleven had a few things that they had kept hidden from the community, and through an investigation by Fair Works and Ombudsman over a couple of months period, they were able to uncover a lot of things that 7-Eleven weren't doing or acting in the best interest of employees. Through this, they found that $293,500 worth of wages and entitlements were not paid to the employees. So this led to many federal court sentences, enforceable undertakings, 20 letters of caution, and 14 infringement notices to the 7-Eleven. So 7-Eleven were definitely given a lot of opportunities to change their practices and ensure they were paying correctly. They also had instances where they were hiring people overseas or students because they knew that when they came over here, they didn't really have much choice but to work for 7-Eleven, and they would sometimes pay them at only $20. They would only pay them for 20 hours even if they were doing over 40. So on behalf of 7-Eleven, they weren't really showing good practices. But through time, employees have been able to gain more access to things such as union and different organisations that help to look after employees. And these companies don't always necessarily correlate to the organisation that they're working for. So if an employee breaks the leg, the union will cover those costs and look after the employee. Or if the employee believes that they're not being paid the correct amount, they can actually protest or go on strike, or even take it to the ombudsman in order to have their rights looked at to see whether they are being entitled to that. I believe it's a good cause because it means that employees have more say and it's not just dictated by the organisation that they're working for. So 7-Eleven hasn't always acted in the best way, and them being caught out has brought down their reputation, but they also believe that they are a strong company that has now worked to do better. So I think their best way in order to start off would be working on the simple things. So HMR's Professional Code of Ethics has 5 different values that they place, and if 7-Eleven were to take these on board, it could really help their company. So the first one would be integrity. This means being honest and treating the employees fair. So this was one of 7-Eleven's first mistake when they weren't fairly treating their employees. This then brought down their integrity. So that would be one of the first and very important ones. The next one is the legality, which is respecting others and obeying the law. For any organisation, this is important because if they're not, they're going to keep getting fines or they're going to get shut down. Proficiency. So 7-Eleven does pretty well at this by, doing the right thing, being good against competitors and actually having an overall competency as an organisation. But I think it's more so improving their relationships with their employees and the community as well. Professional loyalty, which is using the business for the right person. So I think this is kind of important to maintain a professional sense of loyalty to people and to communities. So if they say that they're going to look after people, then that's really important to keep their word. And then confidentiality. So a lot of employees would obviously be giving them sensitive information, and they would be receiving a lot of things that they would need to keep private. So I think if an organisation is able to keep sensitive information private from the media or from people, this really builds the trust between not only the employee but also just with other people as well and other organisations that want to partner with 7-Eleven. So for any reward to be meaningful to the employee, individuals attach a positive value as they satisfy of certain self-defined needs. So I think that in order for 7-Eleven to improve, rewarding employees is going to be really important because employees want to feel a sense of worth and a sense of importance. So 4 ways that they can do that. The first one is by attracting the right people. So when 7-Eleven is employing people, they're actually attracting people that can stay with the business long term and actually have the right ethic. It's not based on their race or their religion, but it's actually based on who they are. The second one is retaining them, so looking after them while they're there and making sure that they're happy in the company. So if there's something that maybe they're not happy about, if they're a employee that you value, then you'll want to change that. So for example, if maybe they were needing a little bit higher than the rate because they might have kids, paying them that extra 50 cents may actually encourage them to stay. The next one is development. I think it's really important that employees, that especially their long term, are growing and developing. Even teachers have to do things like PD, which is professional development. So even the person who's working at a petrol station can do professional development, whether that be even being able to step up and manage a store or be able to oversee a franchise. I think that would be excellent for building not only just the employee, but it actually then builds the company up as well. And lastly is motivating. So sometimes if an employee's been there a really long time, they're not always going to feel like doing the job, or they're not always going to feel like being there. So giving them a reason to stay or giving them even an incentive. Sometimes money's not always the answer, and if you don't have a very thriving business, then it may not be. But if you do have an incentive, maybe that'll be something that's personalised to them. So if one of your employees loves coffee, then maybe giving them a few coffee vouchers might motivate them a little bit. Yeah. So next one. So a perfect example of a company that does really well in looking after their employees is actually NASA. So NASA looks after the employee almost like the military in a long-term sense. So if you sign up for NASA, regardless of your position, if you are just an electrical man or if you're the astronaut, they do provide really good incentives. So they offer strong health benefits. They offer retirement plans. I do believe they also offer like incentives when you've been in the company for a long time and reward programs. So I think it's really great. NASA definitely offers a lot, and sometimes if you're a smaller company, you can't always do that. But companies that really look out for their employees long term will probably see them be there for a longer period of time. Another one is Google. They're actually really good at looking after their employees. They do that through giving them a little bit more freedom and a little bit more like time to do things when they want to. They can come in their casual clothes, and I'm pretty sure they have slides and different things that not all organizations will have, and those are really just motivators to stay, because at the end of the day, a job will always be a job, but the people that are there and the company itself is what will keep people. So 7-Eleven definitely tried to improve after the scandal that had happened. This is through a lot of community support. So one of the head office had come up with a statement that said he was supporting the homeless and those that are at risk of being homeless and in crises, and being able to help over 16,000 people and 28 volunteers to provide support for people in the Gympie and Hervey Bay and areas, and more than 3,800 people received essential meal packages in 2019. 12 school breakfasts programs were supported, and hampers were handed out. So I believe 7-Eleven is trying to reach out to the community now, and I think that's a really good step in repairing the reputation and the relationship that they had once had. But I definitely always think there's room for improvement. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. I think 7-Eleven's really going to have to work more so on the employee relationships that they have, and building that trust. I think corporate social responsibility, or commonly known as CSR, plays a really huge role in this. This is a way where we can ensure that we're not just looking after our employees, but we're also looking after the environment and the triple bottom line. So, yeah, I think even though 7-Eleven is a fuel company, it doesn't mean that they can't have an impact. They could be funding things such as high-powered cars and, different areas. So, yeah, I think that 7-Eleven is able to still be corporate social responsibility, even though they are a fuel company. So looking at it from a biblical perspective, in Romans 2:6-10, it says, "He will render to each one accordingly to his works. To those who by patience in well-doing seek for glory and honour and immortality, he will give eternal life. But for those who are self-seeking and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, there will be wrath and fury. There will be tribulations and distress for every human being who does evil, the Jews first and also the Greek, but glory and honour and peace for everyone who does good." So I think that's a really awesome passage, because it really shows you that doing good and actually wanting to do right by other people, it really does affect, and by doing the wrong thing, you're only bringing yourself into more wrong. So I think that from a biblical perspective, God really wants us as a community to show people what the right thing is and do that right thing, because it not only just affects us, but then it affects the generations to come and what they'll learn as well. Another passage that I really like is Galatians 6:9 verse 10, and it says, "Let us not grow weary of doing good things, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up, so then as we have the opportunity to let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith." So sometimes, especially if you're in an organisation or you're an employee, it can be quite easy to stop doing the right thing and get a bit lazy, and I think maybe that was what 7-Eleven was doing, where they were doing well for a season and then they were kind of like stopping to do that. I think that continuing to do good even when it gets hard is really important, because there's seasons for everything, and Yeah, I think over time people should still be growing and learning. And not everyone's going to be perfect, you know, like I'm not going to be perfect, you're not going to be perfect, but yeah, we're going to continue to grow and learn. And yeah, I think that 7-Eleven has a lot of potential there. They've been able to help so many people. I mean, if you go to pretty much every single state's going to have a 7-Eleven. And even though back then they were doing the wrong things, they're still in some ways helping the community. When I go to work in the morning, I still need fuel to get there. So, yeah, I think seeing good and also what businesses are doing and how they are improving really helps to motivate them to keep doing it, because at the end of the day, we still need businesses and we still need people to learn from their mistakes. And I think with 7-Eleven, they've also probably learnt from their mistakes. And as I can even see when I walk into there, I've seen quite a shift from just the which was commonly known as just Indian people that were working there, whereas now you do see a little bit more of Australians and other cultures, Europeans, New Zealanders, and I think that's a really good step. So, yeah. In conclusion, I believe that every business is not going to be perfect. There's always going to be room for improvement, and but I think being able to also like congratulate companies that are doing well and see areas of improvement are also really important. So yeah, I think that from a biblical perspective, it's important to do good and to be good, but I also think that yeah, we are human and we're going to make mistakes, and it's okay to learn from those. So yeah, in conclusion, I think the best thing we can do is just be who we've been called to be and do the best that we can. So thank you for watching my speech and listening to me, and thank you.